All right, I'm running out of daylight, so I'm going to try to be quick. September 17th, 2025, the Ohio DNR, Ohio Wildlife Council, they held a special meeting in Athens, Ohio at the ODNR District 4 headquarters. It was open to the public, so made the trip over to Athens to check out the Special Wildlife Council meeting. Didn't know how many people would be there. Turns out people from across the state came, but especially Morgan, Athens, Meigs County. There were a lot of counties that were affected that were there. There were a ton of folks from Columbus and Northern Ohio who just owned property down in the South. And it was absolutely, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how many people they were expecting. The council seemed so touched at the attendance. The room only held 100 people, and then they couldn't let anybody else in the room. They just couldn't legally hold more people than 100 in the room. There were probably 150 there, I would say, so everybody else stayed in the lobby or in the hallway. A ton of people were just leaving. They were just greeting them at the door, basically saying, hey, we're out of room in the main room, but you're welcome to stay in the hallway. A lot of folks turned around and left, so I don't know how many people intended on being there, but I would say 150 people attended and stayed for the meeting. The rule change, and I'll put a little thing across the screen here so you can read it, but they wanted to take 3 counties effective December 1st, 2025, and take them from a 3-deer county to a 2-deer county. So Washington, Meigs, and Athens counties. The Wildlife Council meetings have 15 slots for public speaking. So just anyone from the public can have up to 3 minutes to say whatever they want. But you have to schedule it 24 hours in advance. But anybody could do it. But it kind of prevents, people from just showing up the day of and just saying whatever's on their mind, I guess. But all 15 slots were filled. All 15 people were present and spoke. And it was from all walks of life. And if you were there, the quality that each one was. It was phenomenal. I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal. Some people seemed to get emotional. There were a lot of farmers that talked, farmers who had seen a ton of dead deer. I just didn't realize how bad Athens and Meigs County were. One gentleman spoke. I think he had 300 acres, and he had 6 or 7 fawns left, and that was it. He didn't have any adult deer left. So last night's meeting, the purpose of it was to discuss the rule change, to hear some feedback from the public. There was some general discussion from the council, but majority of the conversation was from the state deer biologist, the Ohio DNR's state deer biologist. And he kind of gave a pretty detailed explanation of EHD, how it got here, and why we're having such a hard time. He also talked a lot about how southern states, their deer herds have an immunity to it that we just don't have from lack of exposure over however many years. But I'm not going to really get into all that. If you want, I have a video that kind of details a little bit more about EHD and what it is. I'll link it here. But the first couple of speakers got up and basically said very appreciative of the ODNR's attention to this and this change that they're trying to make kind of last minute, a change that'll be effective December 1st, which is after the rut, but it's before gun season. So the first few speakers, the first 2 or 3 speakers were very appreciative and supportive of it. But from then on out, it just got more and more passionate, and people started to say this wasn't enough. This isn't aggressive enough. They started talking about how valuable of a resource white-tailed deer are to our region and our area and to our local economy. And also, just to touch on it, they talked about it a lot last night, but as hunters, we're all conservationists. One gentleman stood up there and said, we need to impose self-limits on ourselves as hunters in affected areas. And I don't really consider myself to be in an affected area. We have gotten some confirmed deer in the last week, but some confirmed EHD deaths, but it is really missed where I'm at in comparison to Athens and Morgan and these other counties up around Marietta. Those places have just been demolished, and to hear it firsthand was insane. But yeah, so this one local gentleman stood up there and he said, we need to try to self-impose some limits. But at the same time, hunters, historically, we don't have a great track record of that. In fact, we probably wouldn't have deer to argue about in North America if it weren't for Teddy Roosevelt. And one of the councilmen spoke about the loss of the passenger pigeon and how conservationists stood up to demand change, and kind of compared last night to that moment. Of course, that's on a much larger scale. I mean, that's a whole species going extinct or whatever, but these folks are just worried about their local herds. And sure, they may build back in 3 to 5 years if we don't have another hard drought or another bad EHD hit next year. But if we get this 2 or 3 years in a row, what are we going to do? And that was a lot of the discussion last night. Majority of the speakers really landed on the suggestion of no antlerless tags for those 3 counties. Some people suggested adding more counties than that. The round of applause a veterinarian got, a local veterinarian to Athens spoke, and he said he is seeing just dead deer after dead deer, and everywhere he walks he could smell it, and he's not seeing any live deer. He's occasionally seeing a live doe or a live fawn, and the heartbreak of imagining those last few deer that survived getting shot by a hunter this year. And it was profound. Those deer could have immunity just like these deer in the South. I mean, maybe she has been bit, maybe she has it, and she, for whatever reason, has an immunity or has built up an immunity to it and is a carrier of said immunity. And maybe we want her building our herds back. It was very well received, huge applause, and it really sparked a lot of conversation and thinking in the room. And the 2 main suggestions that were widely positively received were no antlerless deer to be harvested, but it was also suggested by multiple people no non-resident tags in those counties as well. The council heard that. The ODNR heard that. Who knows what's going to come? So there was also discussion about an emergency rule change protocol in Columbus. It may or may not involve the governor. They were going to do some digging into it today and tomorrow to see if it wouldn't be possible to make a change prior to archery season beginning. So they released a new EHD map, and we've got some new confirmed counties. Gallia County's freshly confirmed. So take a look at it here. So there's lots of conversation right now in Columbus about how to address this. There's obviously no wildlife management tool that exists to prevent the spread of EHD. However, when you've got 150 hunters in the worst part of the state that's arguably the most dependent on these deer and their survival in a whole lot of ways, whether it's just tradition, preserving heritage, or for commerce. I mean, there's a lot of folks there that owned Airbnbs. There's a lot of folks there that owned grocery stores and restaurants and concerned folks like that who depend on that income. So you've got a room of 150 people who really hold this resource close to their heart, and they're willing to self-impose limits. They all said they're not going to shoot a deer in Athens County this year. And I just think that speaks volumes to how bad this is. All right, I'm going to just read a couple of things some of these folks said yesterday. According to the landowners that were at the meeting last night, Washington County is down to 10% of their herd, and Athens County is down to 30% of their herd. This was just public opinion in the room, widely agreed upon in the whole room. One person suggested a bobcat trapping season. A lot of people said that fawns were still alive, that they had trail cameras running and they hadn't seen a mature deer since August, but they're still seeing fawns. And we don't know if that's the colostrum pulling them through. We don't know if they have some type of natural immunity to this. Very, very interesting stuff, but kind of hammers home the potential need for a bobcat trapping season. And Southern Ohio is absolutely polluted with bobcats, by the way. If you have trail cameras in Southern Ohio, you know that. There was quite a bit of conversation about if bait stations and the trampling down to the dirt and then a little bit of rain hits it, if that doesn't encourage midge. breeding. The state deer biologist gave a lot of statistics. He went over the last several years and how EHD has affected Ohio deer herds. 2025 is the worst, and we kind of discussed reasons why that may be. So Washington, Meigs, and Athens counties, they're 3 of the 4 largest counties in Ohio when it comes to antlerless deer harvested by landowners. For instance, Washington County is number 1 in the state. 47% of the antlerless deer harvested in Washington County are harvested by landowners. And the biologist's point in giving these stats, Meigs County's 46%, Athens County's 42%. The reason the state biologist gave these stats is he was trying to drive the point home that landowners can self-impose limits and not harvest antlerless deer in affected areas. And the room did not disagree. People totally agreed. But I think it's the 53% that everyone's more worried about. It's much harder to self-impose a limit if you drove 8 hours to hunt there, and it's the only time you're going to ever hunt in Ohio, or whatever the details may be. Maybe you hunt in Ohio every year, and you drive from North Carolina or Michigan. I think the question is, what are these guys supposed to do? Because I don't think they want to come up here and just sit and not shoot anything. A lot of people in the room suggested they need to try to find a different area in the state to hunt. And a lot of people in the room suggested that the DNR shut down non-resident tags for those affected counties. No ruling has been made, so only time will tell. If something happens, I'll certainly come back and make a video, try to update everybody. But yeah, great time. Everyone was so appreciative that the council came down. It's very rare they come down south of Columbus, and so it was exciting to just kind of be a part of the process and make our voices heard. So yeah, thanks guys, appreciate it. The comment time is open right now. If you're watching this video anytime near when I've uploaded it, the comment time is open. I'll put something here to where you can find a way to reach out to the ODNR, but they have a link that you can click. You can shoot an email, and you can give your comments, how you feel about the situation. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Cheers.